Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reinvention Show. The first one after a break. We had a great summer break. We took a conscious choice to give ourselves, our team, a chance to step back. And we are back with you for our weekly Reinvention Show, where we explore how do we not just survive the disruption, the volatility, the uncertainty that we are all feeling today, whether we're in business and nonprofit and education, whether we are speaking about personal life, professional life, our businesses, our organizations, our communities. How do we not just survive the disruption, but actually thrive in it? How can we find a way to ride the waves of change, not get crushed by them? And that's what Reinvention Show is all about. And today I want to address or begin to address the greatest myth that I see circulating around me in companies and communities and individuals, address some of those myths that are standing between you and your ability to ride the waves of change, to be adaptive, to use disruption as an opportunity. But before I say anything about the big myth, I want to remind you of the two big resources that we have available. And while I am welcoming all of you, I would love to see where you join us from. I see Sherry is here from Tampa, Florida. Sherry, of course, is an amazing reinvention practitioner, certified reinvention practitioner, and chief impact officer here at the Reinvention Academy. Somebody on Facebook is excited. You're welcome to give me a permission to show your face around this post. There should be a link that says give StreamYard permission to show your name. And I see the Reinvention Mythbuster. Yes, that will be the series on Reinvention Mythbusters, and that's Alexandria, Virginia. I hope that's somebody from our community. Welcome. Excited to have you. Give me in the chat, where are you joining us from? It's a first show after the summer break. I'm excited to be here. St. Petersburg is in the house. Stas is here. Welcome. Excited. I'm back in Columbus, Ohio. And here's the most important thing I want to mention from the get-go. We did have a break this summer, but it doesn't mean that nothing productive was happening. Right before the break, we released our tool number 10 of the reinvention method, called the Future Fit Framework. It's just a one-pager. It's very simple PDF, but we already have reports from consultants and executives all over the world using this tool, simple one-pager, to open up real great conversations that facilitate greater rate of change, that reduce resistance to change, that really align teams around the need to reinvent. It's a very simple one-pager. So if you have not yet grabbed your Future Fit Framework, it's a one-pager, and it comes with the videos where step by step, email by email, I train you how to use that tool. You are welcome to grab it in the comments. You will find a comment like this, and you will be able to download it with one click, and you will be able to start using it today. And I'm excited to see how people are using Future Fit Framework. Now, another big thing that is happening, and by the way, welcome. Debbie is in Tennessee. Exciting. Somebody is here from India. Maybe that's Nassif, maybe that's Jatin, or anybody else from our community. Happy to see that Olga is here. Welcome and excited. So number one, while we were taking a break, we were not completely unproductive. Future Fit Framework, grab it, use it. And on top of that, we also have another opportunity, another resource for you, our crowd favorite. It's something that we do not every day. It's not available all the time. We only do it every few months, and we haven't done this since April. It is, of course, our world famous Easy Reinvention Lab. To date, over 7,000 professionals around the world participated in the Easy Reinvention Lab. It's free. It's live. You join me on Zoom once a day for 5 days. It only takes about an hour a day, and it creates a powerful momentum for your personal reinvention, for your business reinvention, your nonprofit reinvention, your community reinvention, wherever you want to apply it. It comes with a workbook that you can use again and again. We have consultants, coaches, team leaders in corporations, nonprofit leaders using that workbook and reporting amazing results. So you get that workbook and the permission to use it for life. And of course, this is a limited time opportunity. This is the only time this year we're doing a special topic. This time we are focusing on fatigue, burnout, resistance to change. And we are following up on the recent research by some of the most respectful organizations around the world. One of them is Gallup. And recently they published in Harvard Business Review that the numbers, the greatest report they saw of the latest months is the level of stress and anxiety and burnout in organizations that they've never seen before. We are exhausted. We have massive fatigue. This last few years have been very difficult. So this whole lab will be diving into reasons why we are so fatigued, ways to turn things around quickly, and also ways to sustain that level of wellness and resilience throughout the months and not just focus on the quick fixes. So excited to have the Easy Reinvention Lab. The window to register is very small. We start this Monday, August 29th. So grab the registration now. Even if you can only come from one session, dip your toes. See if this is relevant for you. Get some data. We are always science-based. We are always data rich. So already on day one, I'll show you data from this year, research from this year. On day two, we're using neuroscience. On day three, we're using blue ocean strategy. We give you so many different angles. Come for one session, whatever you can fit in your calendar, but dip your toes in the water so that you can build those reinvention muscles, because it's like with any muscle. If you don't use them, they become very weak and atrophy. And I don't want you to lose your capacity for resilience and reinvention. And that's why this resource is available. So grab the Future Fit framework, grab the lab, share it with your community, bring your teams, bring your colleagues. And I'm excited to see you on Monday. Now, to the topic of the show, the myth busters of reinvention. And this will very much link to the issue of why are we so fatigued. And I will concentrate today on the first myth, the greatest myth, the myth that is constantly an issue every time I see a company or an individual stalling, not able to progress, getting stuck, getting lower in performance, losing something in their performance, either sales or revenues or efficiency, or individuals feeling like their career is stuck and their life is stuck. There's one myth that is the most fundamental when it comes to reinvention, and that is the idea that reinvention is a one-time project. This is probably the greatest myth of all. That reinvention, that change, that transformation is something that we can do once, do it well, push ourselves and forget it. And the reason why it's such a dangerous myth is because it creates conditions for fatigue, for frustration, for burnout, because we push all our efforts in this one sprint, one change, with a hope, with a great expectation that once we force ourselves, push ourselves to transform and reinvent, we will come out and there will be rainbows and there will be unicorns and there will be music and godly light and everything will be good from then on. It's a beautiful dream, and unfortunately, it's completely unsupported by the data from every field of study, whether we're looking at economic data, social data, environmental data, raw material data, political science data. You take any science right now that is related to civilization, to human life, and you will see immediately that we are living in a world of extreme speed and volatility, and change is an absolute constant. And in the world where change is constant, reinvention cannot be a one-time project. It has to be a repeated rinse and repeat process that you are doing on a regular basis. I always repeat it again and again. that reinvention is like taking a shower. If I don't take a shower on a regular basis, I begin to stink. Same with reinvention. If you don't renew your career, your skills, your capabilities, your team, your company, your products, your processes, your revenue model, your community, if you don't renew on a regular basis, you begin to stink. So reinvention is like taking a shower. It's not something that you can do once in a blue moon, set it and forget it. And that is why we're so fatigued. That is one of the reasons we're so burnt out, because we put all of our resources, financial, physical, emotional, every form of resource in this one big push. The push produces the results, but those results, because of the volatile environment, are very short lived. We pushed for a new product, the product relaunched well, but in just few months, or perhaps if you're lucky, a year or two, the new technology, the new competitors, the economic crisis, COVID-19, political crisis, supply chain crisis completely obliterates your business and you have to start from scratch. And people feel defeated. People feel like all of our efforts never go anywhere. Just as we get over one crisis, another one completely covers us and pushes us under the water. The reason you or your people, your team members, or your clients are feeling that way is because, first and foremost, they have to change the mindset. And the mindset that they're stuck in right now, the resistance mindset, is the idea that reinvention and change, that transformation is an occasional project, does not work anymore in our volatile, uncertain, brittle, extremely anxious, constantly changing reality. We cannot treat reinvention as a project. We have to treat reinvention as an ongoing process, as a well-managed, oiled machine, where we understand from the beginning that any change we introduce is temporary, and in just a few days and in just a few weeks or months or years, depending on your industry and your reality, you'll have to rinse and repeat and start again. And if you have that mindset, your expectation is different. You're managing your energy differently. So you're not running a sprint, you're running a marathon, and you space your energy differently. You make a decision differently. Your decision making is different. The way you manage your financial resources, your investment is different. Everything changes from this one myth that is busted. The idea that reinvention can be treated as an occasional project versus reinvention as an ongoing, well-managed and deliberate process, a proactive process where we start with anticipating change and we are able to see a potential crisis on the horizon and turn it into opportunity before our competitors, before the regulators, before anyone else can snatch that opportunity from us. So please, please, please let me know how this is resonating with you. Tell me how this is working. And Sherry is saying, I used the Future Fit framework tool yesterday to talk about mindset. Great tool to open up the conversation and talk about possibilities. Absolutely. That's why we created this tool. So in the comments, grab the free link. It's a one-page download. You fill out the form with one click, you have that PDF. But on top of PDF, I actually recorded a few training videos for you to see how you can use the tool, because there are so many applications. The global community around the world, those of you who are not familiar, there's 5,000 of us around the world. And many of us are reporting the results inside the Global Alliance of Reinvention Professionals, and people are able to move the resistance that they have faced in their companies in a much faster speed. Maybe they had a strategic thing that they wanted to move for months and months, and this one tool made the case for their community, for the team, for the executives, that it's time to move. So it's also those of you who are consultants, coaches, trainers, it's a great sales tool because it makes obvious for your clients that their approach is no longer relevant, and that if they don't change, If they don't do something, they will be in gender. So this would be very, very important. Beth Jenkins says she introduced Future Fit to a client group as a way to begin conversation about their organizational assessment that client wants to pursue. Yeah, I see that a lot as well. I love that. And some of you are reacting that Olga says that lab is a great way for a quick dive. Yes, for those of you who want quick result, but they fired the lab, that's also happening. So would love for you to be at the lab as well. Give me some reactions to the myth number one. Change and reinvention as an occasional project versus change and reinvention as a deliberate, proactive, and systematic process. Are you seeing that shift in your companies, in your organizations, in your personal life? And if that shift happens, so if you see that shift, give me a yes in the comments. If you don't yet see that shift, if you see that most companies are still treating change and reinvention as a one-time event, as a big, big sprint, give me a no. Yes, if you see the shift. No, if you see companies still stuck in the old mindset. Yes, if you see the shift. No, if they're stuck in the old mindset. From my end, I see a bit of a mix, but of course, I work with some of the pioneering companies around the world. So I'm not a representative. I don't have a representative sample. I don't have the right data. And Beth says, yes, I'm seeing it finally. Yeah, I'm beginning to see that in the most proactive, the most pioneering companies, they begin to see. For example, we had a graduate in our certified reinvention practitioner program, the spring class. We have a fall class coming up, but spring class just had its graduation. And in the spring class, we had an executive from a pharmaceutical business who came to help his pharma business reinvent. And this is what happened. In the matter of the program, in the actual 3 months of the program, he was able to bring more than 1,000% growth for one product line through reinvention tools. And then the company saw such a fast return that they actually committed to create a department of reinvention. And that's their mindset shift. Like Beth, I am seeing that shift because this was a Max's example where he was able to really shift very quickly because he showed the return on investment quickly, took the low-hanging fruit, brought it about immediate, more than, I don't remember what it was, but over 1,000% return, Department of Reinvention. So I can see that the shift is happening. Sherry says, yes, I'm starting to see it slowly. And Stas says, I remember his story, 1,080% return in just the first 3 months, 1,080% growth for one organization, for one product line. Antonio says, I was driven by the pandemic to fall back into meal prep, only this time with a twist. Created a prayer. So look, you also can see an individual reinvention that is happening. And this idea that we need to continuously reinvent ourselves, not just our businesses, also makes a difference. And Olga says it takes an effort to incorporate reinvention. Just like any other internal process, it requires commitment and discipline. Absolutely. You're building a new process, just like operations or marketing or sales or supply chain management. You're building a deliberate process. It requires time, it requires testing, but that shift is happening. So I'm happy to see most of you are saying yes, that the shift is happening. Now, Beth says, when I share with clients about how we can build our response skills, it seems to resonate. I'm happy to hear that is happening as well. That is just one myth. But there are many other myths about reinvention. So can you give me in the chat other myths, other misconceptions about change, reinvention, and the time we live in right now that you think are the biggest blocks, biggest enemies of being able to build resilience and reinvention skills and really master and increase that superpower inside your life and your organization? What other myth do you see outside of change is a project versus change is a deliberate and proactive process? I'm sure you see other myths in your practice. I'm sure there's something else that you see. Beth says change is easy. That's the myth that you're noticing. Change is easy. It's an interesting one. Change is easy is an interesting one because if you think about the way we are wired neurologically, this is not a psychological issue. It's actually biological issue, anatomy and neurology. We actually are wired to have skills of change and reinvention from the birth. The baby, if the baby is healthy, is wired to reinvent. This is our birthright. We don't need to learn reinvention. The baby doesn't need a bonus to start walking or doesn't need long training course to start crawling. Babies are wired to reinvent. They're not afraid of mistakes. They're constantly trying new things. They're going a lot of things working in their life to push things forward. But unfortunately, we're educated out of our intrinsic natural change and reinvention capacity. So change is easy is actually biologically the case, but unfortunately, absolute majority of us, by the time we're already in elementary school, are introduced or have been objected or subjected to the efforts to educate us out of our natural reinvention capacity, not because of any conspiracy theory, not because of any bad malintent, but because in the past, what was happening in the global economy and all of our societies is a relatively stable and certain period of life. And we will get into that on day one of the lab. I'll show you some data that I hope will blow your mind. But essentially, this has been our life for at least a century. We had a relatively stable world. And because of that, we didn't need change skills. So we've been educated out of it. Let me look at other myths, but I see Antonio says, good to see you since Sustainability Conference in Detroit. Yes, I was keynoted in Detroit a few years ago, and Antonio was there working on the team. So happy to connect. Olga says, a myth. Reinvention is something for a few special experts, not for everyone. I love this one. This is a great one. So again, why we have this myth? We have the myth that reinvention is something few special gods do, or something to outsource to the McKinseys of the world, or something that just one department in the company does. And of course, that it cannot be the case. This comes again from the times where we had very stable world. When we live in very stable world, we call it the world of long cycles, where a company does the same thing in a long life cycle again and again for decades. In those stable times where you could essentially do the same thing for 20, 30, 40 years, reinvention was outsourced because why would you have reinvention skills for everyone in house? If it's only done every 40 years, most of your employees will be retired before they even see a single reinvention in their life. So why would you give that skill to every single person? You would not. And that's why it's become this mythology, because only few gods, the McKinseys, the big academics, who would be very good at reinvention, because they would be called in that once every 20, once every 30, once every 40 years, and they would accumulate all the knowledge, all the skills, and all the secrets of successful reinvention. But that time is gone. We live in a world where every 1, 2, or 3 years, and I will present you the newest data from our 2020 reinvention survey globally. What is the speed of change today across different companies? Unfortunately, it's no longer every 30 years. It's, if we're lucky, every 3 years that we need to reinvent. In that speed, if every single one of us does not have the skill necessary to reinvent, we are toast. We will be out of a career, out of business, out of financial success, out of emotional stability, out of a sense of peace and happiness. We will have a collapsing situation. So for us, this is so important that reinvention is given to the hands of many, not just a selected exclusive few. That is why the mission of the Reinvention Academy is 1 billion with a B, 1 billion people around the world with strong resilience and reinvention skills. Because if we want to survive the many disruptions humanity is facing in the coming years, you all see this. You see the inflation this year. You see the another rounds of COVID and monkeypox and whatever else is disrupting us. You see, of course, the horrible drought that we're experiencing all over the world. And with the drought comes severe risks to our food supplies, and again inflation because the food prices are rising. Every kind of challenge is on our hands already if we want to not just survive but thrive in this disruption. Resilience and reinvention should be in the hands of absolute majority. It should become the basic literacy skill all over the world and cannot be something that just few possess and hoard and have in their own hands. And that is why, again, I invite you to bring yourself, your teams, your community to the Easy Reinvention Lab. It's free because we want to give the skills to the masses. It's open to all, and you have all the rights to use the workbook we provide in Easy Reinvention Lab immediately, and don't ask for our permission, because we need to get to the place where most of us around the world have strong resilience and reinvention skills. So super happy to see that you are coming to the lab. I see that you guys are getting help for each other, so you'll find good return invest on your time at the lab. Great. Nafis says, change aligns our passion and hunger. You've driven under method with growth mindset instead of non-willingness to diversify skills, competence, self-doubt. Love that. I see more of you here at the show. We are just about wrapping up, but remember to grab our Future Fit framework. It's a very quick one-page free download. You can grab it in the comments. You will see something like this in the comments. It's a one-click download and it comes with great videos. I actually give you some pointers on how to use this framework to move change in your life and in your company or client life. Make sure you also come to our free and live Easy Reinvention Lab. It starts this Monday. We already have 552 registrations, professionals all over the world. It's going to be on fire. And the most exciting part, not only you reinvent yourself in those 5 days, but you see what others are doing. So your library of possibilities, your database of possibilities expands like crazy during that lab. And that's why it's so exciting to do it live with others. And of course, if you have a chance, we have a survey, a research we're doing, takes 4 minutes to complete, but we would absolutely appreciate it. It's anonymous. It helps us get high quality data about the speed of change and the nature of change that is happening all over the world. And we will present the results of this research during the lab on day 2 and 3. So complete this survey. With this, I am excited to say this is the time to welcome new people into the Reinvention family, and this is a time to bust some myth. I would love to get more of your comments. What myth of the reinvention you are seeing in your organizations, in your client organizations, in your life? We already spoke about change and reinvention as a one-time project versus change and reinvention as an ongoing, proactive, and deliberate process. We already spoke about change is easy versus change is possible or complex or whatever other alternative. And we also discussed change as something that only few exclusive experts can have, and reinvention as a normal literacy skill for absolute majority of the world. Would love to see other myths. Review the show. If you're just joining us, go back, replay the show, and add your myth. Enter the conversations. Let's keep this conversation going. And next Thursday, our show will be all about best practices. We'll show you some cases. We'll share some ideas that are really generated by those cases. And I'm excited to see you every Thursday at 11. Reinvention show comes every Thursday at 11. Mark your calendars. Make yourself here. Let's have deep conversations. Let's share amazing resources. We have some great guests coming up. So join us every Thursday at 11. And of course, see you this Monday, August 29th, Easy Reinvention Lab. Even if you can only come for 1 out of 5 sessions, I promise you it will be worth it. With that, The show is back, and I'll see you very, very soon. Thank you, everyone, for joining. This has been incredibly high energy. I'll see you very, very soon. Bye.